react. And the Senate comes back to town, in theory, to handle this business tomorrow. There is a lot, though, going on your beat. So I want to talk about this stunning reversal that happened over the weekend as well. The DOJ announced it's dropping felony charges against a former Olympian after acknowledging that damage to the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool was caused by flawed installation, not vandalism, like they've been saying, with no proof. The motion to dismiss was filed by D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro on Friday after prosecutors concluded the damage attributed to former Olympian David Hearn stemmed from defects in the installation of the reflecting pool's liner. The filing stated that information obtained after the indictment showed the damage was caused by, quote, botched work performed by the project's contractor hired by the Trump administration. And it wasn't botched because of criminal conduct. The Trump administration has defended the $16 million no-bid contract by saying the work needed to get done by July 1st.
The Justice Department just dropped its felony case against a former Olympian, and the reason is the whole story. For months, the administration said the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool was attacked by vandals. Now its own prosecutor has told a court in writing that the damage came from a botched installation on a rushed $16 million contract. Not vandals, a bad job. And the man they charged? He touched the water. That's it. Let me show you exactly how this collapsed.
Pool. Now, what's really notable, there are a number of things here, is that we're hearing this after he's already been charged, after he entered his not guilty plea, and as this case was getting really close to trial. This trial was set to begin at the end of September. And so for Jeanine Pirro's office to move to dismiss this indictment, saying, hang on, we actually found out there is no evidence here. He didn't do this wrong. This is that no-bid contractor's fault, not the Olympian and presumably not the other people who have been charged. Now, Davey Hearn's the only one who is facing a felony count, but multiple other people were charged with misdemeanor damage here. But I cannot underscore how significant this is that the DOJ is backing off of one of these indictments that you could make the argument is one of these perceived political indictments that wouldn't necessarily have been brought by other administrations. Jeanine Pirro here is now paying the price for backing off of this indictment. This is like a massive, massive turnaround, and just something we don't see because this.
Here's who this happened to. David Hearn is 67 years old, a two-time Olympic canoeist from Maryland. Prosecutors accused him of forcefully and violently ripping up the pool's liner with both hands. Hearn says he touched a chunk of lining that was already loose and let go the moment a worker told him to. He pleaded not guilty to a felony. He was days away from being one of several people put on trial over peeling paint. And then, right before trial, the government quietly changed its entire story.
Trump and she and everybody we're talking about. Let me just read it to you. Almost immediately after work was initially completed, peeling was observed along the pool perimeter. The NPS engineers' June 11, 2026 email, that's National Park Service engineers, June 11, 2026 email stated that the cause of the damage was contractor error via overspray, that the peeled lining would not float, and that the peeling would not impact the strength of the liner. The engineer's report also suggested that removing the liner at the perimeter would have had no negative impact on the economic value of the liner. Moreover, the July 20th, 2026 inspection by contractors confirmed that the overspray and delamination had occurred, again pointing to contractor error. Finally, a recent visual inspection showed damage throughout the reflecting pool, even in the middle of the pool, where a vandal would not likely attempt to peel the lining. Pause. Isn't that what Donald Trump said? The vandal went right in the middle and did it right there, peeled the lining right in the middle. Given all of this newly discovered information, it is difficult to attribute the widespread damage to the reflecting pool to vandalism, let alone to establish that fact beyond a reasonable doubt. For all of these reasons, the government, in the exercise of its prosecutorial discretion, respectfully requests that the indictment be dismissed without prejudice.
This is the part that ends the debate. In her own 20-page motion, Pirro lays out engineer emails and inspections showing the cause was contractor error, overspray, delamination, the lining peeling during installation, and then the line that quietly demolishes the whole vandal theory. The damage was found throughout the pool, even in the middle, where a vandal would not likely try to peel the lining. Her conclusion, in her words, it is difficult to attribute the damage to vandalism, let alone prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the prosecutor, not a critic, the prosecutor.
Look, I'm sure you may have seen this morning. If not, Donald Trump out there attacking Jeanine Pirro right now. Donald Trump posting, I disagree 100% with Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, on the reflecting pool. I don't know what she was thinking. To me, it was a pure case of vandalism. That included the grass, which had a big 8647 emblazoned in giant letters on it, and other elements of the surrounding area. There may have been some contractor difficulty, but the major damage was caused by vandals. DJ.
And it wasn't just one post. For weeks, a whole lineup of officials went on camera and said the same word over and over, vandals. They described box cutters. They described a gash. They said they were 100% sure and could prove it. Here's what none of them ever produced. A single photo of a person cutting the pool. Not one. The certainty was total. The proof was zero.
Away, man. These are horrible people. Here, play this clip.
The vandalism is very real, despite what Tim Walz wants to say. It's an imaginary problem. No, it is not. It's a very real problem.
Reflecting pool is so beautiful. They tried to destroy it. They cut it up with a box knife and tried to destroy it.
The contractors who did the initial work with the reflecting pool, are they to blame for the current condition, or is it
No, we had vandalism. No, vandals.
But it peeled off. Why? Why did that happen? Do you know?
It didn't peel off. There was vandalism. There was box cutters. There have been 7 arrests. There was people literally trying to destroy part of a monument. The reflecting pool is not just a pool on the mall. It is part of the Lincoln Memorial. And if anybody says that they're going to go and vandalize that, it's no different than if someone was throwing paint
and you're
on Lincoln
100%
itself.
sure that what happened with the liner was vandalism. You can prove it.
Oh yeah, absolutely can. And as we drain it, and we've got all the photographs we can see. I mean, there's no possible way.
There are photographs of a person or people cutting a 300 or 350 foot gash in the bottom of the.
This is the whiplash. The same U.S. attorney who would later tell a court there wasn't enough evidence went on television and said flatly that the vandalism doubts were not the case at all, that someone was intent on doing incredible damage. On air, total confidence. In the filing weeks later, can't prove it. Same person, 2 completely different stories depending on the audience.
I miss you more.
You got to keep Jessica in line.
Yeah.
Maybe come back for a day.
Listen, your show's still great. I love it.
Thank you so much. A lot of people, when this first happened with the pool, didn't believe the president that there was vandalism. That's not the case.
Yeah. It's not the case at all. In fact, I was at the reflecting pool yesterday. There not only is a vandalism that is reflected in today's indictment, but there is a cutting of the liner of the pool at the base of the pool for several yards across the pool. And someone was intent on...
Remember the specifics that got repeated for weeks. A 300-foot slit, a box cutter, someone who cut it up good, vivid, detailed, and, according to the government's own final filing, wrong. The damage that was described as a deliberate attack turned out to match exactly what a failed installation looks like.
Vandals, vandals, vandals. Here, play this clip.
We had vandalism. No, vandals. You know, we have I think 290, 300-foot slit right through it. Probably a box cutter or a knife of some kind. Somebody went in with a knife and cut it. They cut it up good. And then they cut a 200, 350-foot slip in the form of lots of little slips. A real horrible stuff.
Here's the bigger point, and it's not a partisan one. A private citizen was arrested, held for hours, and charged with a felony to prop up a claim the government couldn't back with evidence. His own lawyers called it ready, fire, aim. When the machinery of federal prosecution gets pointed at someone to defend a story rather than to follow the facts, everyone should be uneasy about that, no matter who's in office.
I want to make sure that we touch on the decision here by Jeanine Pirro, the D.C. U.S. Attorney, to the motion to dismiss on the reflecting pool case against David Hearn, who they had made wild accusations against for having caused this damage here. And President Trump, it's worth noting this weekend, he wrote on Truth Social, I disagree 100% with Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, on the reflecting pool. I don't know what she was thinking here. My very specific question on this is, if the president is breaking from Jeanine Pirro as D.C. attorney, is there the potential that some of his other picks, whether they're acting or confirmed across the country, begin to take pause at doing the bidding and trying to seek indictments on clearly false allegations that the president makes without evidence just because he wants them to.
It doesn't seem that way. And it really bears noting that all of this up until Piro's dismissal, and Piro has she's Westchester County DA. She has an actual background here. Every step, though, that led to this was an abuse of power. The fact that they tried to supplant Donald Trump's false claims about vandalism, and they tried to actually prosecute someone in order to bolster those claims, that it was dismissed as good. Everything led up to it.
To be fair to the other side, the president and the Interior Secretary still maintain the damage was caused by vandals, and they point to earlier reports from the Interior Department and Park Police that said the same. It's also true that the case was dismissed without prejudice, which means, in theory, it could be refiled. And Hearn has consistently denied doing anything wrong. So this is the honest state of it. The initial report said vandalism, the fuller evidence said installation failure, and the prosecutor went with the fuller evidence. And that leaves the questions a lot of people keep coming back to. If the lining was failing on its own, why was a no-bid contract rushed out to finish before the 4th of July? Why was a motorcade driven across the pool area during the work? Why painted a dark blue that bakes in the sun and feeds algae? And the simple one, who pays to fix a $16 million project that peeled almost immediately? None of those have clean answers yet. So here's my honest read, and I'll label it as opinion. This was never really about one man and a pool liner. It was about needing a villain for a project that went wrong, and finding one. The tell is simple. When the evidence finally arrived, the case evaporated, but the accusations didn't. If you think a citizen deserves proof before a felony charge, that's not left or right. That's just the floor. I'm going to keep tracking whether anyone actually apologizes to David Hearn and who ends up paying for the redo. Subscribe, and let's get to the next one. Now watch what happened next. Instead of accepting his own Justice Department's finding, the president went online and torched his own prosecutor. He wrote that he disagrees 100% with Jeanine Pirro, that to him it was a pure case of vandalism, and, this part matters, he admitted there may have been some contractor difficulty, but insisted the major damage was still vandals. Think about that. His own U.S. attorney reviewed the evidence and walked away. He's still posting,